Head-to-head 4-2, but we know what outstanding snooker Maflin produced, both in qualifying for the World Championship back in the summer and when he got there. Two outstanding wins over Dave Gilbert, who of course had made the Crucible semi-finals the year before, and John Higgins in the second round when Higgins played well, but Maflin was just that bit better. And, well, he might have beaten Anthony McGill in the quarters at the Crucible as well. But he's up against one of the most impressive players on the biggest stages in Ali Carter, twice a world finalist, and of course this year's Masters runner-up as well. Curiously, all 6 of their previous meetings have been in China, so this is their first UK-based encounter. You have to go back to 2015 for the last time Maflin won. That was the China Open. Carter most recently at the International Championship last year, 6-3. And what a way to start from Maflin. Tremendous cueing, Neil.
Yeah, terrific potter. It's the mark of his game, actually. The way he pots and scores. Very aggressive player. That was how he beat John Higgins at the Crucible over 25 frames. Continued to play that way. Highly rated. Maybe should have done a bit more in his career, but certainly he's still improving, I think. It's safe to say, at this level on the bigger stage.
Six.
Interesting that he's opted to play with the new cue in the last couple of months. He was doing pretty well with the old one, as mentioned, at the World Championship. But maybe that run to the quarterfinals in Sheffield and the players he beat to do it and the way in which he played, he made 4 centuries against Dave Gilbert in the first round, has just given him that extra bit of belief on the biggest stage that he really can mix it with the best in the world. He's always been a very good player, and he's one of those players who is very highly regarded by his peers. Jimmy White, as you've just heard, is a big fan. They know how good he can be, and now he's beginning to prove it.
It's a bit unlucky there, I think.
90.
I don't think he hit them all that well. Of course, he tried to hit the pink flush. He hit half of it. But even then, he might have still finished on something as opposed to nothing.
Maflin 90.
Andy referenced Carter's modest start to the season. Nothing doing really for Carter yet in the ranking events, and he lost to Nigel Bond in qualifying for the German Masters, but he's found something here. He's only dropped 6 frames himself in getting to the last 8. Good wins over Dominic Dale, who of course had knocked out Mark Williams, and Ben Williston, who'd beaten Neil Robertson to get this far.
Certainly the balls are very awkward now. Bit of a disconcerting start to a match when the pink and black are completely buried, as they are here, especially the black. That's a good safety shot, though, well weighted and acknowledged by Ali Carter.
Carter's run at the Masters was a timely reminder of just how good he can be. And of course he got in through the back door, really, with Ronnie O'Sullivan's surprise decision to withdraw from the event. Carter had just missed out on the top 16, but goodness me, did he make the most of his unexpected entry. And of course he led Stuart Bingham in that final 7-5, made a couple of centuries. He was looking good, and actually the final mid-session interval came at the wrong time for him. Bingham came out firing thereafter and eventually won 10-8. It's a cracking final. The consolation of a 6-figure cheque for Carter as runner-up, but of course he was desperately disappointed not to claim his first Triple Crown title. Some good safety though in the early running here. It's another good one from Maflin. A nod of the head from the captain.
I think with Ali Carter, you know, he's a real fighter, isn't he? You know, we know about his off-the-table battles, but on the table, you know, as well. And you know, you may not make the, you may not see a score sheet with, you know, a plethora of centuries on it or anything like that. But what you do see is someone who competes in all the big frames, very experienced player, and not anybody you'd particularly like to play. I think that's more a summary of him. 2 world finals. He's got it all, really, but in some ways he's a little bit of a throwback in that his style of play is maybe that of about 10, 15 years ago. But he's a hard man to beat, I think.
Plenty of battle scars for Carter. Some very good moments on the table, some disappointments as well. But all of it very much put into perspective by the health issues he's had to battle pretty much throughout his pro career. Of course, aside from the 2 bouts of cancer he's overcome, he's had to struggle with Crohn's disease, a chronic condition that he still has to manage very carefully. So when you factor all that in, 4 ranking titles, 2 world finals, and a final appearance this year at the Masters represents a very good career, and it's not over yet.
What a good shot. What a very good way of escaping. I can't imagine you could see a shot played any better than that out of a snooker.
Not the player's fault when the high value colours are a bit awkward initially, although at least the black is now out in the open, but they're both looking sharp in terms of their tactical play. The winner, of course, will play the winner of tonight's match, and what a match it promises to be. Ronnie O'Sullivan up against Ding Junhui, a repeat of their World Championship match, which O'Sullivan won 13-10 on his way to his 6th world title. But Ding has been playing some great stuff this week, including, of course, that comfortable victory last evening over John Higgins, who had looked very good here at the Marshall Arena. So Ding back in fine form. And of course the other quarter-final over on table 2 this evening sees David Grace, who produced that Houdini act against Michael Holt in the previous round, 3 down with 4 to play, to win, up against Yan Bing Tao, who of course became the youngest ever ranking finalist in losing narrowly to Mark Williams here a couple of years ago. Well, terrific cueing, but a horrible cue ball. At least it didn't go in off.
Yellow ball.
No, straight enough too, wasn't it? And nominated yellow here.
Ali Carter 1.
A lot at stake in this match. You can understand that if this match got tight, got tense as it progressed, because we know it could be a 5-0 either way, but you don't sense it's going to be that kind of a match, because these two guys, especially Maflin, getting to a semi-final, that would be a big deal for him. He's done well before, but not enough times for it to be commonplace. So, and for Carter, well, apart from the Masters, latter stage of events for him are not so frequent these days. So this match is of its own significance. And there'd be no back number in the semi-final whoever won this match. Just looking at that, those two reds, are they a plant? He's having a look to the left corner. I've got a glimpse of them. They're not quite in line, obviously, and that would be borne out by the shot he played. So that was caught too thick, and the result is he's left the red quite a lot too thick as well.
This match into its 13th minute, and finally the safety deadlock broken with that error from Carter. What can Maflin do with it?
1.
First term pro nearly 19 years ago, Maflin. He's been on and off the tour a couple of times. In fact, he gave up the sport for 3 years before rekindling his love for the game, rejoining the tour after winning the World Amateur title in the mid-noughties. Oh, but that's a bad one.
Good, Maflin 1.
Although neither player have got their arm going yet, because it's been mainly safety rather than potting.
Yeah, of course, both players have been out in the outside tables, haven't they, all week? They may have played the odd match here or there, but everything's been played in a very different setup to this, different table conditions. That just takes a while, that's all I'm saying. And they notate they're all the same, really, but there's slightly different speeds on them. This one's been recovered. So, generally, it's a little bit of a different setup to what they've been playing on to get here.
The table much more open looking now, though, as a result of that safety from Carter.
Just got the message, actually, something I don't know the answer to, from Heiko, who actually says, greetings from Austria. Question, is the break-off shot included in the safety success statistics? I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you.
Well, we've seen a lot of decent safeties, and that was another good one. Helpful kiss on the brown. Carter is officially ranked 19. He came into this tournament provisionally at 22 in the world, but he could still conceivably qualify for the Masters as of right if he wins the tournament. £70,000 and points available. Only 3 wins away. And that's another good bit of queuing, and I think Carter thought that was in. It was so close.
Quite like the other one from the other side, wasn't it? Of course, it never went in. The cue will finish in the same area, right near the pocket.
Yeah, that would have felt good off the cue, but just not quite accurate enough to drop.
Found out the answer to that. Yeah, apparently the break-off is included in the safety stats, especially when Gary Wilkinson, who's involved in these stats, is working on them. Gary Wilkinson, former world match play champion. He's saying yes. So there you are, there's your answer, that gentleman in Austria who asked me that.
Yeah, Scott Donaldson had all kinds of problems with his break-off earlier on against Judd Trump. Mistake.
Well, it was, because without the right-hand side, he'd have probably gone up and down. He's probably trying to avoid the double kiss by playing it with the right-hand side. Let's have a look. Well, I think it would have avoided the double kiss and avoided the black playing ball.
A rueful smile from Carter, and Maflin may now actually benefit from the loose safety he played, with the red staying so close to the corner pocket.
1.
Everything's a bit of a struggle in this first frame, but at least the players are being afforded the opportunity to get a feel for this table. And of course, it's their first appearance, as Neil mentioned, for both of them on the main match table.
5.
He's very good at shots like that. Very aggressive shots. I guess with Maflin, what he had to do was channel all that aggression and ability to score and make himself into a good match player, top match player. And as I say, he is getting there.
This is his third Home Nations quarter-final appearance. He hadn't been past the round of 16 of this Northern Ireland Open before now. Oh, but again, although queuing was slightly awkward, he'll be very disappointed to have missed that one.
This is not a good start to the match for him. I mean, he's had all the chances, actually. 3 or 4, I'd say, and he's only accumulated 30 points. So he's not started as he would like. He's on the back foot already a little, even though he's a few in front. Ali Carter seems to be playing every shot with safety in mind, because he hasn't really had much of a pot to go for, from what I can see. say it again, when the high-value colours are out of the game, it becomes a difficult frame. You don't see it being won in more than about, or less than about 3 visits, 3 scoring visits, maybe even more than that if balls go awkward and pots are missed. That's a good safety shot from Carter. This is actually a beauty. I think that is nowadays his strength. You know, his safety, and I know he learnt a lot from his good friend Peter Ebdon, who played each other in some very big games, but become mates. And also, for a while, I think Peter Ebdon seemed to be mentoring Ali Carter. Certainly, he was on the balcony at the Crucible. Some of his achievements took place there. It's kind of awkward because, let's be honest about it, they could have met in tournaments. They're both similarly ranked, but sort of helping someone out you might have to play the week after. But Peter Ebdon knows the game inside out. Anyway, that's an error.
Now retired, of course, Ebdon, the former world and UK champion. Had a lot of back problems in the last couple of years of his career and was likely to make the matter worse by continuing to play, so decided to call it a day. But here's Carter with a chance to get a feel for things. Of course, there does remain the possibility of a Ali Carter, Ronnie O'Sullivan semi-final. It would be their first meeting since Shouldergate at the Crucible a couple of years ago, when Carter beat O'Sullivan for the first time in a ranking match, and there was a little bit of argy-bargy. Handbags for sure, but of course there won't be anything like that this time with the social distancing.
Yeah, they'll be fine, those two. Those two, Ronnie and Ali, go right back. I mean, they do, both Essex lads, right back to, you know, junior days. Of course, Ronnie's got a few years on him, but they'd have practiced together an awful lot. So it's just one of those days, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, and of course the irony about that was that O'Sullivan went on to do Carter a huge favour in pulling out of the Masters, and we know what happened as a result. Picked up a cheque for £100,000 for making the final, so sure all is forgotten as regards any ill feeling. They're just very competitive animals, both of them, aren't they? O'Sullivan and Carter, and as you say, they have such a history. And it was a brilliant performance from Carter, because he had a terrible record against O'Sullivan going into that match, but he played outstandingly over the 3 sessions. Anyway, this match hasn't really unfolded yet. Black remains out of commission. Maflin has had his chances, has missed a couple that he wouldn't normally. Both have made 4 centuries this week, so they've both scored well when they've had the chances. And neither have been really pressed as yet in any of the rounds. But this is where it gets serious. Guaranteed £20,000 to the winner.
Yeah, I agree. It does. You know, you get to the weekend, and I think in these home nations, if you do get through to the weekend's play, the Saturday and the Sunday, the only table around, of course, there's 2 tonight. But tomorrow it's just 1 table all the way through. Anyway, at the moment, Maflin is making a lot of mistakes, and he's not really leaving anything. He's been a bit lucky, I have to say. It's frame 1 of a lot. Every time Carter comes to the table, I think he comes full of hope and anticipation, and nothing's there. been going 25 minutes, and to be honest, we've seen not very much of any real note. The match will warm up, clearly, but it's been dross so far. I was at the qualifiers, as you were, Philip, but Ali Carter was knocked out on his 40th birthday and the World Qualifiers, and he was in the bar. First time he hadn't played at the Crucible for many, many years. He had a long run of matches there, even through his illnesses. And he was pretty phlegmatic about it all. You know, he stayed and had a drink. I don't think it was the best birthday of his career, of his life.
No, it was Leicester's Louis Heathcote, wasn't it, who beat him and played exceptionally well in the process. But he did prove, didn't he, with that run to the Masters final, and he beat the very best in the world on the way, that he can still mix it at the top table. Although this has hardly been fireworks, we have seen a lot of good safety from both players so far. Just nothing in the way of breaks or fluency.
I would argue that Carter has played some very good safety, yeah, and he hasn't had any great rewards.
Carter beat Mark Selby, John Higgins and Sean Murphy to get to that final with Bingham at Ali Pali. And as I mentioned, had it not been for the mid-session interval, he might well have gone on to win, because he was on a real roll when he led 7-5. I remember Stewart saying afterwards that he was sitting in his chair watching Carter potting most of the balls and thinking about his runners-up speech. But he found a new gear when it really mattered. It's like a chess match at the moment, isn't it? It's more like Karpov against Kasparov than Carter against Maflin.
This is the kind of range you don't really want to leave Maflin, because he's liable to knock something in. In a little bit through the side door, that one. This is a good chance, though, now. Whatever's gone before in this frame, chance to put it behind him. And he only needs a few of these reds.
Four. Five.
Well, Maflin will feel, given the opportunities he's had, which Carter hasn't really had, that he really should win this frame, and it would be a big disappointment for him not to. He's edging his way in that direction. 34 in front, 67 left.
13.
That was a good pot, but once again, things are awkward.
I know, it's an amazing place to finish, actually, where again, he's got nothing available.
So, still, the frame remains elusive. 35 the lead with 59 left now. It'd be a great frame for Carter to win. It feels like a long shot at the moment, but you never know. All sorts of awkward balls to negotiate, though. Brown and blue out of commission at the moment. A couple of reds close to the side cushion, so Maflin clearly firm favourite to eventually prevail in this frame that's already been going over half an hour. Of course, the Judd Trump-Scott Donaldson match took a while to unfold. The first mini session was a bit of a struggle, but as he is wont to do, Trump found some extra gears to pull away at the end. He needs 2 more reds to leave Carter requiring snookers. Close, but having missed it, no great damage.
He never leaves the ball, does he? I mean, he has not left a ball in about 5 or 6 errors, and every time the balls have ended up safe. Carter seems to play all his shots, just little safety shots, waiting. He's been waiting a long time for something to go at.
Well, he's covered the red by the looks of things, so he's not out of this yet.
It's kind of, if this was a deciding frame of match, you'd say, fine, you know, I understand the way it can go that way, but it feels like that. The tension in it and the nerves. Slightly unsettled players. Once again, high-value colours out of the game. It's got a shot at this long red, but it's not a lot of fun. Yellow right next to the cue ball. Only got a cue off line, and yellow could be about 6 foot away from where it is now. Nicely done. So at last, Carter has something to aim at here. Winning the frame of here, well, I think it's not a prayer. The balls are too awkward, but he could get some points on the board and get back into it, perhaps.
Well, Carter's been around the block so many times. He's seen everything on a snooker table. He won't be fazed by this awkward start and the fact that Maflin's had the rub of the green a few times. In fact, you don't really want the luck right at the beginning of a match of this importance. You'd rather have it at the sharp end, so long way to go.
Andy Carter 21.
I think he's hoping that in some way the black will get developed here. Maybe he feels that Kurt Maflin will have no choice but to do so.
The difference, 35 on. Carter still has the thorny issue of the brown and blue if he does get a chance.
This is by a long way the worst frame I've seen all week. It's in the balance still, it might have a great end, but it's been a horror frame.
Oh.
What a shot that is, though. What a shot. That's beautiful striking. It really is. I think it'd be a very bad frame for Maflin to lose because he has had a lot of opportunities. Carter, not so many.
Yes, Maflin will now be hoping that one of those two awkward colours, which of course Carter will need, comes to his rescue.
Well, as you can imagine, there's absolutely no chance of getting the blue out or getting on the blue in any real way other than perhaps some sort of a double or something. Let's just make sure this goes in and get first good safety shot in at the blue, I think.
17.
Boring as it sounds, really, sometimes there are literally no other options. So, whoever pots the blue will only want one ball on the pink. So we've got there to a conclusion in this frame. Going 40 minutes to get this far. Well, if you... I can't believe what he's played there. Surely he didn't play the cross double, did he? That was a very strange shot from someone who's normally very astute with his safety. Don't know what he played.
So another chance for Maflin to finally put this frame to bed. He needs blue and pink. Not a gimme though, by any means. But he's got it, and he's on the pink. So, in the 41st minute, Kurt Maflin finally has the chance to lead 1-0. And he's missed it, goodness me. Well, If he loses this frame now, it's going to take an awful lot for him to forget about it.
Don't think he deserves to win it personally, because he really has had an abundance of chances, and that was the worst of the lot really, because it's right up his street, that punchy shot. He has not settled into this match at all, and if he loses the frame, he'll be very uncomfortable.
Well, you heard Carter's gasp of frustration. He knows how much losing this frame would hurt Maflin. It would be a big early psychological blow, but he's not taken his chance, and surely this time this pink is going to disappear.
That smile from Carter was one of not being happy rather than being happy.
A rueful one for sure, and a relief for Kurt Maflin. A pretty horrible opening frame, and Maflin has fallen over the line big time, but he has managed to clinch it, and he leads 1-0. Well, the least said about that opening frame, the better, really. But Kurt Maflin won it in the end, having missed glaringly on the final pink. He got another shot at it after Carter had a chance to punish him. I fancy the pace may be a little quicker this evening. What a match we have in store. From 6:45, the build-up with Andy and the team in the studio, followed by Ronnie O'Sullivan against Ding Junhui. It should be a classic. And, of course, whoever wins that will play the winner of this in the semi-finals tomorrow over the best of 11 frames. That was a frustrating frame indeed for Carter. He didn't get much of a look in for most of it. He was living off scraps. He played some good safety, but he did have the chance to punish Maflin, and you could see his frustration. You could hear it when he missed the pink into the green pocket, because that really would have hurt the player from Norway. Very much a family affair, snooker, for Maflin. His wife Anita is a player. Of course, he's based in London. He is a Londoner, I should say. He's based in Norway. And when he's not playing, he's often commentating for Eurosport in Europe, so many strings to his bow. But he won't be happy with the way he's played so far, even though he's won in front. And Here's the chance early in frame 2 for Carter.
1. Six. 7. 14. 15.
You have to go back to the 2016 World Open for Carter's last ranking title, his 4th.
Certainly be looking to get the bunch open as soon as he can here with an angle on the next black.
23.
That's a bit straight really. It does have an angle, but I think a little bit further down with the cue ball. The fact that he's gone off the cushion into them, left cushion, tells you he didn't play the shot before very well, because that would not have been his shot of choice. Now, as he just snuck the cue ball through.
30.
As I say, he would have wanted to go into them directly, but the angle didn't appear. Looks like he can get to that red, and it passes the red near the pocket.
Well, this would be just the antidote to the frustrations of that marathon opening frame. A quick kill in the second to level this quarter-final for Carter. Well, he looks as though he's been a bit unlucky there. He hit them well enough.
I think so. I think so. I think he hit them okay. He seemed to just cling to the reds. The main bunch of the reds were never going to be quite affected there by the line he came in. But the break is over. I know the first frame was very good, but he's got to be mindful not to leave anything for Maflin at long range. He's very good. That's a good shot. The only red he can pot would be a thin one.
A handy lead. It could have been a whole lot more if Carter had had a bit more luck in going into the pack of reds there, but a much better start to this frame for him than the previous one.
Well, surely he's not on the pink, is he? That would be very handy for him. Now, the red's in the way. Oh, oh I didn't see Ali Carter's face after that shot, but I shouldn't think it would have been that he was all that pleased for his opponent there, because he got a little fortunate, but hey, he knocked in a good red, and now he's got a chance to advance this scoreline. And he's a terrific player when he gets going. He's just been a little subdued in the bit of a frame and a bit we've seen. Player I enjoy watching a lot. Kurt Maflin.
Yes, and crucially, of course, he didn't pay the price for the misses he made in that frame. Had he lost it, which he could easily have done, then it would have been a challenge for him to get over that frame.
16.
But now it doesn't matter because he won it.
$23. 24. $31. 32.
And Maflin's another one that just leaves his chalk on the table there, I noticed, which is kind of a bit of a sort of thing you do in pool halls, isn't it?
Seen a few players doing that this week.
I think in the previous match we saw a player doing it. I think it might have been Scott Donaldson.
39.
One or two of the purists would be raising their eyebrows, but
Well, I can remember seeing a player just every time there was a bit of chalk on the table. Sometimes, I'm trying to think who it was now. It might have been Rex Williams, but if a player walked away from the table and left their chalk on it, he would just pick it up, throw it on the floor. He did it about half a dozen times, and I think the other player got the message in the end. Many years ago, just lobbed it across the room.
well, Maflin's still got to negotiate 2 reds on the right side cushion to turn this into a 2-0 lead.
Well, that's where the chalk was. That's where it is now. It's up at the other end. He's got a chance to win the frame here. I don't know if he can get on the bottom bed of those two. He might be able to. Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't play the cannon if he could land on the bottom red from a certain area. He's closing it out this frame here. What is it, 17? So he'll need, what is it, all 3 reds. There's no way around it. But he's favourite.
54.
Favourites don't always win, clearly. The next shot is a key one.
Well, that's gone astray. So it looks like being a reprieve for Carter. He's 25 behind with 43 on.
61.
Yeah, decided that he was going to play it that way instead of just trying to get on the bottom one. Maybe it wasn't quite as easy to get on it as all that.
Maflin 61.
Good break of 61, but not a frame-winning one. Whoever gets in next with the colours on their spots will be favourite, regardless of the score at the moment.
He's going for it. Sweet cueing required again here. Now, he looked from the low angle as if he'd missed it by a mile, but it was a very tough shot.
It was a gamble, wasn't it? Very positive shot from Carter, but he had to get it. Well, this is no gimme, but if it goes in, you've got to think Maflin is going to double his lead. And he played it well.
Yeah, didn't he just? That was a good shot. Just needs to ensure here that he doesn't just drift the cue ball up beyond the pink. So he might screw onto the pink or inside it for this red. That's okay. The only thing that could have gone wrong there was if he'd have overhit it and snookered himself, but it, play of his ability seemed unlikely. So, I know I've been a classic yet, but
no.
Maflin, having eventually just fell over the line in frame one, has now started to play a little bit better. Carter with a little bit of thinking to do.
Yeah, Carter was in first in this frame, and he was a little unlucky in going into the pack of reds not to land on one. Had to play safe in the event. He left a long red for Maflin, which he knocked in. Made the break of 61. And after Carter took on that very tough long red to the yellow pocket, he's clinched a 2-0 lead. So without playing as he can, he's made a great start, and he'll be delighted. Carter might feel a little hard done by to be 2-0 behind. At least he's got some room to manoeuvre now that we're at the best of 9 frames as opposed to the best of 7. But it's Maflin who's made the much better start here at the Marshall Arena. He leads 2-0. Quarter-finals day at the Northern Ireland Open here in Milton Keynes at the Marshall Arena. We've already seen defending champion Judd Trump sail through at the expense of Scott Donaldson, and Ali Carter, former 2 times world finalist and this year's Masters runner-up, with work to do. He took on this very tough red at the back end of frame 2. That was all or nothing, really. He knew he was leaving the frame if he missed it. Had he got it, of course, Could well have levelled at 1 each. As it is, Maflin mopped up for 2-0. So a great start for the world number 27, a career high ranking for Maflin. Of course, his quarter-final appearance at the Crucible saw him shoot up the rankings, and now he's one really outstanding tournament away from putting himself in top 16 contention. 37 years of age, 4 years Carter's junior. This their 7th meeting. Carter's won 4 of the previous 6, all in China. But he's got work to do here. 2 more frames to come before the interval. 5, of course, the target. O'Sullivan or Ding to play the winner. Just not quite happening for Ali from long range at the moment. He has potted 1 outstanding long red, but 1 or 2 have gone astray from distance.
Yeah, not an easy shot this, trying to, if anything, push the cue ball up the table as much as the red.
But a reprieve for Carter. Now that could be a big moment in this little mini session. There was a chance for Maflin to really build on his 2-0 lead, but it's gone astray. And now that chance falls to Carter.
I didn't think he'd missed the red, but I thought there was a chance he might not get on a colour.
And really important that Carter makes the most of this. 3-0 behind. Things become distinctly precarious, even though the match is now longer than the ones he's been playing to date.
Seven. Eight. $14.
Yes, you just feel he has to make something of this, really. Otherwise, he's not got any foothold into the match. And like you say, falling further behind would be no good, especially the way that it's gone. It's not as if Maflin has played very well at all, because he clearly hasn't.
He was going well in the previous frame, of course, as Maflin watches on from his chair, before he went into the bunch of reds off the blue and didn't land on one. And it was from the safety shot that Carter played that Maflin got in with his break of 61. Looks like he's just about got top side of the blue.
Yeah, just had an angle there, didn't he? Just enough. And that's not a bad kiss. He's pushed a red safe, but he's landed on a red nicely.
27.
Sort of situation, if you got 50 here, that would be a good break, I think, under circumstances of where the balls are sitting. Not ideally.
Saw the match time there already in excess of an hour. Of course, the first frame was 41 minutes. A real slugfest. One of the more remarkable frames of Kurt Maflin's career to win, I would have thought, given the number of times he missed, including straightforward pink right at the end of the frame, but he got another chance. Was able to build on that in the second frame.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's not a player who's ever experienced, you know, anything. These terrible frames, they just happen, you know. There's nothing you can do about them, and you just have to put them behind you. Sometimes both players end a frame and they just look at each other and laugh because just balls go terrible and miss a few, but you have to move on quickly. It's better when you win them,
34.
easier when you win them.
Would have liked to have avoided using the long stuff here, but it looks as though Carter will need the extended rest. Never fun using all of this equipment on the end of your cue. Oh, he cued that well.
Yeah, with an angle, I think, on the pink to just nudge into the three reds.
Carter acutely aware of the importance of this break. 2-1, and he's right back in the picture. But that's gone wrong. He's lost position.
47.
Yeah, I think he wanted to catch the first red, the right-hand red thicker, push it away from the other two more than he did. So the frame is unlikely to be won here now. Question of getting up the table for safety. I don't think he's going to try and cut this down the cushion. It's One of those, if you miss it, you leave it over the hole. I think he just wanted to continue the break, but I think the red was very difficult. The only good news, he missed it by far enough for it to shift away from the pocket.
Well, not dissimilar to frame 2. Carter in first, looking good, but then losing position. Still plenty there for Maflin. Spied a plant, but now it's stayed out. Another chance for Carter to halve the deficit. Well, it could have been better, but at least he's on the blue.
Yes, this time he has to finish the job. No, he won't mind about the black being safe and the couple of reds near it. Because by the time they come into play, he should be over the line.
Red colour red should be sufficient.
14.
Let's see if he pots this, then mathematically Maflin could tie the frame, but he's not going to be able to do that anyway.
20.
In dropping this in, the frame is, to all intents and purposes, over.
Yeah, a timely intervention from Carter. Maflin did have half a chance there, took on the plant after Carter had lost position, but after what's been a pretty frustrating start to this quarter-final from the 4 times ranking titleist, he's got a foothold now. Seems to be queuing pretty well. That's been evidenced in the way he's got to the last 8. They've both sailed through their respective rounds with very little damage sustained in the process. But it's Maflin who sees his lead cut to 1. Carter back in the picture. He trails 2-1. Ali Carter seeking his 23rd ranking semi-final appearance. Has his first frame of this quarter-final. Kurt Maflin with the opening two, somewhat fortuitous to win the first one. But Carter, with a couple of scoring visits, has taken the third. And so this, the last frame before the mid-session interval. Of course, it's now the first to 5 to progress to the semi-finals tomorrow. Just a reminder that tonight, do not miss Ronnie O'Sullivan against Ding Junhui. The winner of that plays the winner of this match. Our coverage starting at 6:45. They'll be underway just after 7 o'clock. O'Sullivan, who has much the better of the head-to-head overall against Ding, but Ding has scored notable victories over O'Sullivan in the not-too-distant past. The World Championship a few seasons back, and of course the UK Championship last season, on his way to his third UK title. So we're expecting something special. And on the other table, it'll be David Grace against Yan Bingtao. Winner of that to play the defending champion, Judd Trump, who came through comfortably after a sticky start earlier this afternoon, 5-1 against Scott Donaldson.
Oh yes, he hit that. He just grazed it on the way through. See it again. It didn't move very much, this red, but he definitely hit it. There you see, and it was spotted by a referee, Marcel Eckhart. You mentioned the UK Championship. We got a tweet earlier from Riley Parsons, who says he sat in his living room on the last day of isolation because he tested positive and was unable to play here, watching the Carter Maflin match, ready for his return to the UK Championship next week. Best wishes to you, Riley. I see you playing Barry Hawkins. Good luck. It's in the UK next week, which of course as we've said, the qualifiers, well, the first round actually, not the qualifiers, the first round of which is all on Eurosport starting Monday right through to Thursday, and the event proper also on Eurosport from Saturday. Philip has alluded to all of that.
And that's followed hot on the heels by the Scottish Open. Good pot from Carter. He's just beginning to get into a rhythm now. He had to be patient early on. Things weren't quite going his way. They were going Maflin's way. But if he can take this frame, then he'll be the happier of the two, going in at 2 each, having been 2-0 behind.
8. 9.
313 career centuries for Carter, so he's no slouch in the scoring stakes. Made just 17 last season for this. All 4 of those coming in this tournament.
16. 17.
Now, on a good day, you get these balls that open nicely here. On a bad day, of course, a red will go in. And we saw that yesterday. O'Sullivan knocked a red in early in his match against Tepchaya. Tepchaya won the frame from it. I think that was in the first frame. I think he might be on one. I'm not too sure. Thought he hit them well enough, but again, a few reds didn't really shift.
Yeah, for the second time, Carter's hit the reds pretty nicely and could have been luckier. This is a tester. Decides he doesn't fancy that one. On the stretch with this one too. That's a really good pot.
23.
This won't appear in the what happened next round in A Question of Sport.
Alicante 23.
But control of the table.
Strange now, isn't it? Best of 9 always felt like a quickish match, but since we see more best of 7s, shorter format snooker now has changed things. Now a best of 9 feels like quite a long game. What with the interval and all that in the middle of it, 15 minutes. There was a time when I said it yesterday that no ranking event would be under best of 9 in duration. A lot would be longer. But best of 7 is the most common duration of a match now. I mean, tournaments that are actually best of 9, there aren't that many of them. Not from the start.
Marcel Eckhart, the referee, making a mental note of where the cue ball is in case of a foul. Maflin is snookered by the looks of it. Carter's 4 from 11 from long range so far. Took on a very difficult one at the back end of frame 2, which had he got it, could well have won in the frame, but of course he knew he was leaving the world in missing it, and sure enough, Maflin dished up for 2-0.
Yeah, it didn't quite come across far enough behind green and blue.
Carter. 1.
Yeah, just the 1 point for Carter, but it could be more significant than that, with Maflin in a bit of a pickle here.
I don't know if he can go that way. I'm not sure if he could get there off the second cushion. He might go into the other red. I think if he could go that way, he would, but it just might slide off that first cushion and come unable to make that shape. I think he might try and play a thin glance here instead. Oh, what a shot. Wow, that's a very good shot. Of course, sometimes you're not going to see players get that first time.
That's the second impressively executed 2-cushion escape from Maflin in this frame. Carter would love to have got behind the blue there.
Well, he's somehow left that red on. He tried to get the cue ball right back up the table. It never quite materialised.
So Carter in again as he looks to share the spoils before the interval. Once again, not ideal though. Good pot, but he's lost the cue ball. Another rueful smile from Ali.
7.
And the balls just haven't run very favourably in this match, have they? For either player, to be fair.
This is a tough one, close to the cushion.
People keep saying to me, oh, you know, the only reason that people are leaving their chalk on the table is because they've got no waistcoat on. Well, Ali Carter doesn't have a waistcoat on either. He's putting his in his pocket. I'm sure that's the reason. Moment, though, if he could get out of this at 2-all, I think he'd be pleased, because the first frame he should never really have lost. But it took him just a while to get into the swing of the match. What's he found? Something on one of the balls. Yeah, that referee's even got the ball marker's got his name on it.
It's very fancy, isn't it?
It is.
course, he officiated the World Final for the first time, Marcel, back in the summer, the youngest ever to do so. Just a pity from his point of view that
15.
I guess it wasn't a full house. We did, of course, have fans for the final, but a very proud moment for him nonetheless. But this has been pretty good from Carter since falling 2-0 behind. He is a tenacious character, as we know. He's a tremendous fighter. Scraps for everything. And I think he'll fancy the job the other side of the interval if he can clinch this frame and turn it into a best of 5.
22. $28. $29.
Let's open up the black. I think food for thought for both players. If Carter goes on to win this frame, how they'll be thinking. Ali will be thinking, well, I've got myself into it. I'll keep doing what I'm doing, and Kurt Maflin's given me chances. I think if you're in Maflin's corner, you'll say, well, this form is not going to be good enough. He must stay positive and attacking. It's the way that Maflin plays when he's at his best. You know, aggressive player, and can't change that. No point. And Carter has got the ability to take an edge off of an opponent with his own game. Just chips away.
The applause was for frame ball barring snookers. 59 left. This black to make sure. And a pretty satisfactory mini session in the end for Carter. It could have got ugly at 2-0 down. He wasn't getting the rub of the green, but he's played with authority since then. And he's beginning to look like he's fancying the job.
44.
He'll feel as though success in the home nations is overdue. He'd only ever made one quarter-final prior to this tournament, the 2018 English Open, so he's never played his best in these home nations events, but that could all change this weekend.
50.
His first half century, that red
Carter, 50.
surely won't matter. And sure enough, Kurt Maflin concedes. So Maflin made the better start without really convincing with the quality of his snooker, but Carter has hit back impressively, and they've shared the session. It's 2-2 at the break. So it's perfectly poised, 2 each, but Carter, arguably, if this was a boxing match, ahead on points. You just get the sense that he's slightly more the settled of the two in amongst them. Maflin has dodged the odd bullet, missed a lot in the first frame. Somehow he won it. But we start again now. It's a race to 3, best of 5 for a place in the semi-finals. A guaranteed cheque for £20,000 with the points to go with it. and a meeting with either Ronnie O'Sullivan or Ding Junhui, who do battle this evening from 6:45. David Grace and Yan Bingtao will be on table 2 for the last quarter-final. Judd Trump, of course, safely in the last 4 already, going for that hat-trick of Northern Ireland Open titles. And you have to go back to 1996, when Hendry won his 3rd consecutive UK crown for the last time someone's won the same ranking title 3 times in a row. And the way Trump's playing, he is desperate to emulate Hendry. Maflin looking to appear in his 4th ranking semi-final. He made last year's Riga Masters semis. Prior to that, China, 2015, the China Open. And the old PTC Grand Finals 2 years previously. But you can't cue much better than that. That was an excellent shot from Maflin.
Really was. Against the nap of the cloth, any trace of side you put on, will that speed will start to drift back and go the other way. So, it's a very well cued shot, you're right. That is not the next shot that he wanted. I mean, knock a red like that in, it's a new beginning, isn't it, after the mid-session interval, and then he missed the blue.
Just seemed to decelerate on that shot. And that's got to be so frustrating, having slotted in such a fine red from distance, to then miss a blue off its spot. Now, can Carter punish him to the full? He's not started terribly well with that in mind.
Oh, he's finished near the side cushion. It really limits his options at the pot. That's got to be given everything. And I mean, playing it with pace, well, you'd have to play a very good shot to play it with pace. Not as hard as he could hit it, I think, to keep control.
The highlight for Carter last season in ranking events was a semi-final at the European Masters, where he was heavily beaten by Neil Robertson. Not much to go with that, and that's why he slipped out of the top 16. But as mentioned, if he goes on to win this tournament, he could be back in again in time for another tilt at the Masters. This, of course, is the cut-off. The UK Championship coming up is the cut-off for the Triple Crown event in the new year. So points vital between now and then.
Done well to retrieve this break after the shot he played, but as he finished here, he seems to have gone wrong again, hasn't he? Might be on the red, but certainly not in the way he wanted to be on it. Red 2 down from the pink. Lands on the pink, that will be a bonus.
15.
Put his hand up as if to say, I'm lucky. I'm not sure whether he can get to the pink now. He might have to retract that apology.
Carter 15.
Cancel that. He wasn't lucky after all.
Yeah, there've been a few things like that for Ali to contend with this afternoon, but importantly for him, he was able to absorb that frustration and win the last 2 frames before the interval. And he's got control of the table at the start of this 5th frame.
It's not an easy one here to hit a red and do it in such a way that you don't leave anything on. Just nudged it. No, that's a good shot. Very much second prize, wasn't it, for Carter rolling up behind the yellow. shot before was not a good one, though. He got on the red badly. That was where all started to go wrong. It's a question of which player is more tolerant of not the most sort of enthralling match we've ever seen in our lives so far. But the result is what really matters today. Getting the win.
Yes, it's not been a spectacle, but there's been plenty of good safety, and there's another tap on the table, this time from Carter. Maflin finding the baulk cushion to make this safety that bit trickier. Oh, there's a fluke. Well, perhaps Carter's luck's changing. Held his hand up just now belatedly. Well, he could have landed on the pink, couldn't he? And for the second time, having thought he got lucky, the pink eludes him.
Yeah, I mean, well, you get a fluke like that, you can't really complain about not being on anything. But so now at least he's got Maflin in trouble. And, it looks to be horrible, actually. I mean, he might just be able to play up onto the red on its own, perhaps. Just playing onto that one, I think, might be the order of the day. Just a simple shot. Done it well. It's lucky he's going to play some sort of a trick shot. It's not really that. Just trying to get the cue ball back down the table. And I tell you what, he's played a terrible shot. Well, you know, look, he's not unlucky there. He just played it badly, isn't he, this time? And he had to make sure that red didn't drift back up the table. That was the priority. Strange sound it made, didn't it, when he hit that?
Well, Maflin hasn't scored a point since he led 2-0, so chance to break that duck.
One.
Made a break of 61 in the second frame. His pot success is still a lowly 79%. He'll have been very mindful going off for that 15-minute break of the need to raise his game if he is to beat Carter this afternoon.
Four.
Well, incredible. That's the second blue off its spot he's missed in this frame, and he's disgusted with that. Not really firing at all today, Maflin. He's played very well to get this far. He's not been unduly troubled in any of the rounds, but his game isn't there at the moment.
One.
Yeah, he's missed that blue twice, and like you say, he really isn't playing well. You know, he's got to look at some sort of a positive, say, look, I'm in this at 2-2. I'm not quite sure how, because I don't think he can play an awful lot better than this.
Eight. Nine.
Yeah, he really wishes the black could go on its own spot. He had more room to get to those two reds, but clearly the black will go where it is now. And he should still be okay.
Sixteen. Seventeen.
Every one of these balls like a dagger in the side for Kurt Maflin.
24.
Routine blue that he missed when he had the chance to be potting these.
Yeah, it'll be significant actually for both players if it goes 3-2 Carter.
25.
And that he trailed 2-0. Things weren't necessarily happening for him. He's the one that's picked his game up, not entirely. He's not playing all that well himself, but Maflin will not feel great about things if this frame goes against him, which appears to be the case.
32.
Yes, no reason why Carter shouldn't now convert this into his third straight frame. Not for the first time, having to reach for the rest, but nothing to do with the cue ball. Well, it looked as though Carter's horribly misjudged safety when he was very close to the red and had to lift the butt of his cue.
41.
Might be very expensive in the event. It's Maflin who's paid the price for the miss blue.
Yes, I mean, you look at things, the way the pot success is now. He's approaching 88%. Carter, which is okay. With Maflin at 78%, and he's had chances. That's what it tells you. He's had chances in all these frames. He's just never got started. But all is not necessarily lost yet. Okay, he's behind now, that's for sure. But at 3-2 down, you're always still in the match. What's got to change, though, is the standard in which he's playing.
56.
Carter's second half century of the afternoon.
57.
And he'll be feeling a whole lot better now than he was at 2-0 behind. And remember, Maflin had a chance early in the third as well, missed the red in the middle of the bunch, when a sizable break might have been in the offing.
64.
And since then, nothing doing for him really. Just 5 points in the last 3 frames for Kurt Maflin. Carter is getting stronger.
69. 73.
He made 2 centuries in knocking out Ben Wollaston, conqueror of Neil Robertson, 4-2 last evening.
78.
Not enough for the century here, but he's taking these nicely, and he's doing exactly what you've got to do, punishing his opponent's mistake, and it was a glaring one. The second miss blue off its spot in the frame for Maflin. And a third straight frame for the captain, Ali Carter, clearing the table with 91. And Maflin has got all sorts to think about now. He really has to raise his game. Carter looks much the better right now. He leads 3-2. Much for Kurt Maflin to ponder. He led 2-0 without really convincing with the quality of his snooker, but not 1 but 2 missed blues off their spot in frame 5. That was the one that really mattered. It let Ali Carter in for by far the best break of the match so far. A 91 clearance and 3 consecutive frames for Carter, who's now within sight, 2 frames away from the Northern Ireland Open semi-finals and a meeting with either Ding or O'Sullivan. Never ideal when you bring a red down with you off the break though, and he's left it.
Yeah, that red drifts down the table is frequently happening in this game. Also, I think than ever before, there's always a chance that red would go up and down, but it seems to happen if you hit them a fraction on the thick side. The red really moves, almost takes a bit of a flyer. Anyway, Maflin needs to step up, and he needs to do it a bit sharpish. Very capable player. Said it earlier in the match, you can't beat John Higgins over 25 at the Crucible. A match in which Higgins, of course, made that 147, unless you can play the game, and he really can play. You might not know about it, what we've seen, but now would be a good time to up his game, up the stakes, and start knocking these in. Because a place in the semi-final of the weekend awaits the winner
Perhaps he needs to get a bit angry, G himself up. It's been a subdued display so far from Maflin, and he was outstanding in that run at the Crucible.
13.
Higgins played some exceptional stuff in their second round match, but Maflin was the better player, as Higgins acknowledged afterwards. Mentioned he made 4 centuries in the first round against Dave Gilbert, semi-finalist the year before.
20.
He really did come of age in Sheffield as a big match player. But as he mentioned ahead of this match to Jimmy, he's playing with a new cue, and he did say to Jimmy that there are still 1 or 2 shots that take him by surprise, so perhaps he's not fully au fait with it yet, although you wouldn't know that looking at his results this week.
Yeah, as you said earlier, I mean, if you're saying he's changed his cue since the
28.
World Championships, which I wasn't aware of until you mentioned it, then I think you were right earlier. I don't know, can't see what was wrong with the old one, but
29.
I don't know the ins and outs of that. But it takes a while to adapt to a new cue. You can't just pick it up and use it. You can use it to a level, but not to this level.
Yeah, he said he changed it a couple of months ago, so I'm assuming it was post the World Championship run, but either way, he knows he's got to raise his game significantly, and he's been given an early chance, and this will be frustrating Carter because he was getting right on top, and to give Maflin an early opportunity right off the break to get his arm going again will annoy the captain. Well, out of luck this time by the looks of things. Nothing easy anyway.
42.
Too much of it about, isn't there, in this match? Too many bad beats, if you like. Now, he has got a chance at this red up into the yellow pocket, but it's not particularly nice.
Kurt Maflin, 42.
Right, always in that right jaw. Never in. Just overcut it, put it to the left jaw. Half of it would have been his thoughts about getting in behind the black on that. Surprising miss.
1.
Yeah, Maflin looked pretty surprised that he'd missed, but very relieved to be straight back at the table. So 2 errors from Carter in this frame. The break-off that let Maflin in for the 42, and now missing that relatively straightforward red with the rest. And every chance we're going to be level again.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
14. $15. 22. 23.
She made that initial break of 42. It feels like Carter's the stronger player this afternoon, but the only stat that matters is 3 frames each, and all still to play for.
Yeah, and he'll feel a lot better about what he's doing here. This is more like it, finding his feet in the match at last. And I think, as I said, for these two players to just put behind the sort of sticky early frames, because right now we're at the point where things are very important.
52.
Maflin's only significant break of the afternoon was the 61 in the second frame. He looked pretty forlorn when he missed the tricky red into the yellow pocket from long range, but of course Carter led him straight back in, and he's pounced on that reprieve to get right back in the match again.
And the frame.
The yellow eludes him, but that doesn't matter. That's Maflin's best break of this quarter-final so far, and this match remains on a knife edge. It's all to play for. It's now a best of 3. Both players needing 2 more frames for a semi-final. Ali Carter was threatening to get on top of Kurt Maflin when he won his 3rd straight frame with a break of 91, but a couple of errors at the start of the 6th, and he knew as soon as he hit that break that he was bringing a red down. He left it. That let Maflin in for an initial break of 42, which ended when he missed a red to the yellow pocket, but then Carter with the chance, and what a chance it was. Missed with the rest, and Maflin gratefully stepped in after that reprieve with his best break of the afternoon so far, a 65. So this match is still very much up for grabs. Neither player playing anywhere near their best. Carter arguably the stronger, but they both need two. That's the reality of the situation. O'Sullivan or Ding to play the winner. They're in action this evening, a match that is not to be missed. 6:45 our coverage starts. They'll be underway just after 7 o'clock. The other quarter-final remaining, of course, David Grace, who came from 3 down with 4 to play to beat Michael Holt, up against the former finalist at the Northern Ireland Open, Yan Bingtao. Winner of that to play Judd Trump, who came through earlier against Scott Donaldson 5-1.
Yes, this match is coming to the ball nicely, though. Certainly an improved standard in the last few frames. Well, it's not so bad missing it in that way. Red goes to one end of the table, cue ball the other. Ali playing the safety up and down. Cue ball somewhere in behind the yellow, I think. Didn't get anything on it, but it's okay for in that corner.
Pace has picked up significantly. Of course, we had that very turgid opening frame that lasted nearly 42 minutes. Since then, though, it's been pretty bright and breezy stuff. The longest frame since then, 19 minutes. The rest, 15 or less. Every chance, of course, given the significance of this match as we reach the climax, that things could slow down a bit again.
Quite a good safety shot there. He's kind of covered most of the reds. There is a safety shot on which Maflin can play safe from, though. Down and to the right of the pink. That's the one. bit lucky there. Very close to going it off. Ali Carter is taking it, took a little while to get out of his seat there. Maybe he could have gone something easier than that.
It's got the makings of a potentially awkward frame with pink and black not ideally placed at the moment.
Well, you're right, it is an awkward frame now. Played very thin off this top red. Good effort to get behind the brown.
They have played a couple of deciders before. Maflin's victory back in the 2015 China Open was by the odd frame, 5-4. Carter returned the compliment in the same event 4 years later, 6-5. Be no surprise the way this afternoon has unfolded thus far if we were headed that way again.
He's eyeing up this long straightish red. But if he does go for it, he's going to have to get that cue ball up the table. It's not very nice shot, really. Brown's kind of in the line of the cue as well.
Six out of 13 from long range for Carter, 4 out of 12 for Maflin, so neither have been as accurate as they would like to have been from distance.
He's been looking for a minute and he's back on that one, but you can see the cue, the brown is right in line with it. There's a bit of a distraction. Got a cue down on the ball as well. There's enough reason to think he would miss that, and he did. And of course, to be honest, he has left quite a few when he has missed. That red has chased the cue ball up the table. Now he could put it to the middle. It's not an easy starter, but it is a starter.
I have a bit of a phobia about that blue, given he missed 2 of them in the 5th frame, but happily for him was able to make up for that disappointment in the previous one.
Pretty well played. It's
6.
very unlucky if he's over the top of a red on the red to the middle. That's frustrating because he played a good shot on the blue, but then awkward queuing. The one place he never really had a straightforward shot. He would never have missed the red had it not been the other red that was hampering him.
Plenty of work for Carter to do here, though, to engineer something sizable from this chance. He's going for his 23rd semi-final in a ranking event, Carter, so clearly he has a lot more experience of the sharp end of matches of this significance than Maflin. Perhaps that will prove to be telling, we'll see.
6.
He was unlucky to be hampered, but nonetheless he'll have been disappointed to miss. That middle pocket is not his friend right now.
7.
Nice cannon to release the pink, that helps.
Yeah, that was a good shot, actually, and that might have put him in a good position in the frame. It's early days, but the balls are starting to open up, not around the black, obviously. But there's an opportunity to score a few more here. It's a good shot. I think he
13.
judged this, as you pointed out, to perfection. Now he releases the other red here, one by one. These reds are starting to be brought into open play.
21. 27. 28.
I don't think he's got an angle here. It's quite straight. If he's not dead straight, it's just off. What do you make of that? Maybe you could pinch the bit of the pocket, pop the blue into the right side, and just get down a little bit towards that outstanding red at the top. Well, not bad, actually, because while he's not on the red perfectly, if he can screw into the other reds, he could develop other options here for later on. And I know he's missed a couple with the rest today, but invariably he's a pretty good rest player. Well, he's fluked one. That's outrageous.
34.
Outrageous fluke. The luck has turned. It wasn't going from early, but that is an outrageous fluke.
Well, I mentioned early in the match that you'd much rather have the luck at the sharp end than right at the beginning when it really matters. Carter apologised, but he'll be doing his utmost to make the most of that bit of good fortune.
Yeah, I mean, the cue will even flick the pink to make the pink straighter. He may still, he looked at blue and pink, but certainly made easier by that little nudge and the fluke, obviously.
This will be a double whammy for Maflin if Carter can go on and clinch the frame from here. Of course, it was Maflin missing the red to left centre when he was queuing awkwardly that let Carter back in. And now that fluke. 34 in front.
41.
We'll have a look at the miss in question from Maflin. He was very unlucky to land where he did and just made queuing so much more difficult. It's an unmissable red if it hadn't been for the one in the way of his bridge hand. And it might prove to be a pivotal moment in this frame and indeed the match if Carter can go on to clinch frame 7 from here and put himself one up with 2 to play.
Yeah, he kind of accused Carter of not putting his every ounce of effort into this because that's exactly what he is doing. A bit further away from the red, but it's no problem. And of course there is another red at the top there which is sticking out. Typical break of Ali Carter, this hard graft all the way through.
48.
Now what does he do here? Does he go into the reds? I don't know if he will. He might play on the loose one. They're the options to him. Yeah, tried to get on the loose one, and if he's high on it, once again, it won't be too bad. That's a pretty good shot, I think, all things considered. Because he will have to move something. Good time to play a break like this.
Carter looking at the scoreboard, 44 in front.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good break, but he got lucky, didn't he?
He did, yeah. This is the fluke. He missed with the rest, but potted one in the process that he didn't intend, so that he could continue the break. But this is far from straightforward. And there's a red over the pocket he's got to think about.
He's got two, well, he's got more than two choices here, but he might just roll the pink in to the middle and get on that long red, but then the cue was coming up towards the green. Does he play a shot to cover the red?
Pink ball.
I think I'll be going for the pink here. I think he is. Good shot. Very good.
57.
Battling break this. And you'll need two more reds. Still not over the line by any stretch.
D8.
Well, let's just get one thing straight. He was unlucky early in this match, Carter, but the luck has definitely changed. That was another good nudge. So he usually goes with the player playing at his best. Carter is playing the better of the two, but things are happening for him.
Yes, and this red
64.
is all he needs to put him 59 in front with only 51 left. Maflin would need 2 snookers. Big shot.
65.
And no problem. So Carter making the most of his big slice of luck in this frame. Maflin had the run earlier, led 2-0 without playing particularly well.
Big shot.
Since then, Carter has looked the better of the two. And indeed, he's now won, barring snookers, 4 of the last 5 frames.
Ali Carter, 65.
So it's 2 snookers to tie of the 4-point variety for Maflin.
Pretty good break, though, with luck involved, but still hard graft all the way through that. Really tried hard on every shot. I think Maflin is only playing on because he feels obliged to. I think he'd probably like to get on with the next frame. But just on the off chance he could produce something out of nowhere, he's carrying on.
It's a long way back for Maflin here. Apart from the snookers, he needs high-value colours with the remaining reds to have any chance.
It's almost like he decided to hit that as hard as he could.
Ali Carter.
I think he's had enough. I reckon that the frame is conceded.
Yeah, Ali Carter undoubtedly did have a big slice of luck there, but he did take them very nicely after fluking the red. A break of 65. He's won 4 of the last 5 frames. He leads 4-3. Ali Carter has turned this match around after a frustrating start and a 2-0 deficit. He now leads Kurt Maflin 4-3. He's just one frame away. A lot more to look forward to on quarterfinals day, of course, not least Ding Junhui against Ronnie O'Sullivan, runner-up in this tournament for the past 2 years. Still on a collision course with Judd Trump for the 3rd straight time in the final. And over on the Eurosport app, it's David Grace against former finalist at the Northern Ireland Open, Yan Bingtao. All of that to look forward to. From 6:45 this evening, Carter needs just one more to set up a potential showdown with O'Sullivan. But Ding Junhui's been playing some great snooker this week. Ding came into this tournament having never won a match in the Northern Ireland Open. He's put that record right so far this week, but he's got to get past the world champion tonight. Never really had the sense this afternoon that Maflin has been feeling good about his game, even in the frames he won. Needed a bit of help.
Well, he's had a bit of help there, I think. If that cue ball's drifted in behind the green, he's very lucky. I don't know how it's finished there. It's incredible. You know, it never looked for any moment that he was going to be snookered.
Well, after the all-important fluke in the previous frame from Carter, I guess he feels as though he might have been 0-1, although, as we said, he did get the lion's share of the fortune early on. Has it got the legs? Doesn't look like it.
Nothing for. No problem.
Just trying to get into that red. I don't think he would risk trying to play into the bunch because of the reds around it, so he's trying to drop up to that red, and that's why it's a very difficult shot to get right. Oh, he's done okay, although, yes, he hasn't really left that red to the middle very easily anyhow. Maflin might have a go at it. Maybe that he can pot it and get onto the black, actually, into the left corner. But this is not easy. With a bird's eye view. No, near jaw all day. And now he's left a chance. There's just an element there of shoulders have dropped, I think, a little bit for Maflin. And what he didn't want to do was give an early opportunity to Carter.
Hot success, a modest 78.9 for Maflin today. Never likely to reach a major semi-final with a stat like that.
One. Wrong side.
So Carter in the frame he needs.
Well, this might be the first moment in this match when he really can just get a glimpse of the winning line, because he's been up against it. It's not been a classic. But what he's done is what he always does. He's battled for every single point, even in those early frames when it wasn't happening for him. And now he's in a position where he's not quite on the brink, but he can do a lot of striding forward here towards the winning line in this particular visit to the table.
And this is a big couple of weeks for Carter. It bears repeating that provisionally started this tournament down at 22, but
7.
after this deep run here, which could become a whole lot deeper, and with the UK in the offing, he could still get back into the world's top 16
8.
in time for the Masters in the new year, where, of course, he came within a couple of frames of winning the title last season. Right now, all he's thinking about is the last 4 of the Northern Ireland Open. It would be his first ever home nations semi-final appearance.
21. Twenty-two.
Bit frustrated that he finished a little short on the blue there, which makes his next red that little bit trickier than it might have been.
27. $28.
Yes, I think at the moment, it's, necessarily will guarantee that this is the best way of getting into the bunch. It might be just get a few more points on the board in the context of this match. And he's going for it, and that's the only snag. He's now gone a little bit away from the reds. It was the kind of shot that you could see the cue ball going up the table. Saw the shot played earlier on in the mid-session interval by Jimmy and Alan, and it just swings wide, and if it glances the side of the bunch rather than square on, cue ball has to come away from the reds. But the top one is still available, and like I say, not rushing into it. A bad angle, certainly for putting the red and getting onto a colour. Should have made a few more than this, you know. If he runs away, fair enough, but there'll be an element of disappointment if he has to do that.
Carter, 35.
So Carter erring on the side of caution, protecting what he's got, which is a 31-point lead. But frustrated, it wasn't a lot more than that. But for Maflin, time's running out. Not much room to manoeuvre now.
To be a little bit careful about playing a containing shot here and leaving the cue ball at the black end. I've got a feeling there's a plant in the right middle. Well, that won't mean anything now. He's not that in. That's a great shot, and he wouldn't have been able to pot the plant from that side anyway. I think the three reds are set up to the right middle from the left, I thought, but that was a very good shot, and it was a very sort of a good way of defending as well. He wasn't overly worried if the pot went in. Now it has gone in. He maintains the advantage. But he hasn't got a huge lead. I mean, you know, the way that he got in and he took so much time, you didn't know better. You'd have said he was 50 in front here, but he isn't many in front. He has. I still think that whoever leaves the cue ball at the black end on the left side might have to watch out. I've got a feeling there's a three-ball plant, like I say, to the right middle. one that you might not even think was there. Yeah, maybe. It might be actually hitting the near jaw now. I see it again. But don't think he can make it into a plant. Got a glimpse of it earlier on. It's tight. Anyway, again, it's not on from that area, and that is another mistake. Now, Ali Carter with a great chance to put this match to bed.
Body language tells the story, and it's been an afternoon of disappointment really for Maflin, insofar as he's just not found his game at all. Nothing like we saw at the Crucible, and indeed nothing like the form that he's been producing behind the scenes this week on the outside tables. He's arguably done pretty well to win 3 frames, given that he's been well below par, but Carter from 2-0 behind, battling his way to within sight of a place in the semi-finals. It's just a case now of finishing the job.
Nine.
Well, I think he's onto it, but I don't actually, having seen it for a second time, I'm not entirely sure it is on now. He had a good long hard look at it. I think it's hitting the near jaw, those 3. The bottom one will pot directly. I think it will. See enough of it. He could play the red by the pink anyway if he wanted to up the table. I don't know what he would leave other than the red he's playing. I don't think anything in the bunch goes to the right corner. But he won't be rushed. Why should he? You know, he's battled hard to get himself in a position of strength from very unpromising beginnings in this match. Well, he's opting not to take any pot on at all. Can think of a few players that might have gone for that red by the pink.
16.
Well, there's still 83 there, so points isn't the issue for Maflin, but first he's got to find a way to get in.
I'm playing this right hand ready. His cueing is not that great over the brown. Brown ball slightly in the way. Certainly a distraction. And he's still playing it. Playing it again to retreat up the table. And he's got the green safe now, just tickle in behind the brown, apply more pressure. He's taking a few visits to get this frame won, which always makes you think there might be a twist. There might be a counter-attack, but the biggest problem Maflin's got right now is getting out of this snooker.
Happy to bide his time in a bid to seal a place in the last four.
Looks like he's playing the two-cushion glance. It's not an easy shot. He's caught too much of it. Pushed it past the middle. Does that snick back in or not? Well, on that view, never. Can't cut the ball backwards.
Could definitely have been a worse result for Maflin. He's played that two-cushion escape very well this afternoon on two previous occasions. That one he didn't quite get right, but he could have left something easier for Carter.
Yeah, she's playing. It's red. He's got to be a bit careful here, unless he plays just a safety shot. Yeah. Can't really argue with that shot. He's left him a beastly shot here. What's he going to do with this? He'll be tall, he can reach it. Oh dear. That is a terrible outcome. Carter now must... he can't afford not to finish the match off here. I know that at the moment Maflin is sort of slumped in his chair as if he's all done, but Carter must ensure that it stays that way now.
Well, this really has been teak tough match play snooker, hasn't it, from Carter in this frame that he needs for victory. More than happy to take the points on offer and play the percentages, keep Maflin in the balk area, which he's done effectively. Wait for the opportunity to finish the match, and here it is.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier on the kind of player he's almost a throwback to 10, 15 years ago, in that, you know, he doesn't win all the frames in one visit. He doesn't score hugely. See, century after century. What you do see is someone that can really blunt your game. You don't get that many chances, and a more ferocious competitor on the tour right now, I don't think there is one. So he's got all that going for him, and he's 2-0 down, not playing well, not getting much of a run of the ball. And the minute he got back into the match, the run of the ball changed. And really, he's broken the resolve of Kurt Maflin today.
Yeah, Maflin, in truth, has never really looked convincing this afternoon. Even when he led 2-0, he wasn't playing anywhere near the level he produced at the World Championship in the summer. He knows it. And Carter was able to swallow some early frustrations. And he's brought his usual intensity to the match table and has turned this best-of-9 frame quarter-final in his favour. It's been a very modest start to the season for Carter, but things are coming good for him here. Guaranteed 10,000 ranking points for making the semis.
39.
Make it 20,000. For Maflin, he'll have to settle for the 10,000. It's been a good week for him, but he'll be disappointed today that he wasn't able to produce his A game when he needed it most. And for Carter, he can now look forward to a semi-final showdown with either Ding Junhui or his good old mate Ronnie O'Sullivan.
48. Final match.
The captain makes a safe landing in the semi-finals. Ali Carter is through to the last four here at the Northern Ireland Open in a comeback victory from 2-0 behind. He's beaten Kurt Maflin 5-3.